We apologize for the delay. You know, the traffic on Tunnel is never great, and today was no exception. But we're here with two of the leading Democratic candidates in the 8th Congressional District. We, of course, have U.S. Representative Ravi Menendez, and we have one of his challengers, that's Hoboken Mayor Ravi Bhalla. And, of course, you know me as John Heides, and I am the publisher and producer of Hudson County View. And I'm thrilled to be moderating this debate with you tonight. Today, I think you're going to say that HCV stands for Heides Creates Violence, as we have two of the best bare-knuckle brawlers this side of the Hudson River, and I'm looking forward to seeing them go at it motto y motto. So without further ado, folks, we're going to let them both do a 1-minute intro, and we're going to start with the congressman.
Well, John, thank you for having us here this evening. Thank you to everyone tuning in. It's an honor to get to represent you every single day in Washington and here in the district. This is where I grew up, and this is where I'm raising my family. Every single day we go to work for you, whether it's delivering over 1,600 results for our constituents through our constituent services in our district office, bringing $11 billion back for the Gateway program and for the Northeast Corridor, bringing back grants for every single municipality and county that's a part of the 8th Congressional District. We are uplifting your voices. We're taking the values of this district and we are bringing them to Washington and representing you every single day. It has been the greatest honor of my lifetime getting to represent you in Congress. I believe when you look at our track record of delivering for this district, you will agree that we've earned another 2 years in Congress. I thank you for your consideration. I thank you for your time this evening.
Thanks, Congressman. Mayor, whenever you're ready.
Good evening, John. Thank you for having us. My name is Ravi Bhalla. I'm the mayor of the city of Hoboken, a proud, born and raised New Jersey resident, and the son of immigrants from India. In this debate, you will probably see contrasts on a variety of things between myself and my opponent, whether it's our experience in innovation or our position on policy issues. There is a contrast, and you finally have a choice. And this is what this election is about, a choice, an election, not a selection, between two candidates with different views on the issues. And when you look at the issues as they relate to Hoboken, you'll see that I have a track record of earned accomplishments, whether it's climate change, safe streets, or fiscal responsibility. I've led an honest, open, and transparent city and a model city for the country. So I hope you'll listen closely and enjoy the debate.
All right, thank you very much, guys.
Time clock's not up.
Oh, right. Yeah, we'll get that going for you going forward, but for the time being, I'll give you guys a 30-second, and that way, and then we'll get that going. So with that, Mayor Bhalla, we'll start with you, and it's the same question for both. So throughout this campaign, you have made claims that your opponent standing right next to you has a serious lack of ethics. Why do you feel that you have the moral high ground when it comes to your reputation and track record while in office and beyond?
This campaign is about qualifications and merit. It's not about his father. It's about him. It's about me. It's about our track record, our experience, and our qualifications. There are distractions that people like to talk about, whether it's father's corruption and indictments or his accusations about ethics. But at the end of the day, this comes down to qualifications. Who do you want to represent the residents of the 8th Congressional District? I submit to you that I have a track record of earned accomplishments and innovative successes.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Congressman Menendez, same question.
Yeah, so I appreciate it, and we've delivered our first term in a transparent and open way. I think that's in contrast to how Mayor Bhalla has run his administration in his time as mayor and on city council. Just last week, Mayor Bhalla was accused of a quid pro quo arrangement with the mayor of Jersey City, granting a dispensary license in exchange for a city contract. I practiced law for 11 years. I was never censured by New Jersey State Supreme Court. I was never suspended from the practice of law. So if the issue of ethics is important to our voters, as it should be, only one of us on this stage has an ethical issue, and that's the person running against me, Ravi Bhalla.
Mayor, I imagine you have something to say to that.
Sure. He's handpicking what amounts to a payroll dispute 16 years ago and conflating it with ethics. That was resolved, and that's over. And then the other issue about an accusation by an individual who is under criminal investigation by the FBI is pure, utter nonsense. You talk about ethics. I mean, this is a gentleman who was handpicked by party bosses to be your next congressman. Do you want somebody who's handpicked by party bosses, or do you want somebody who's been in the district, has earned accomplishments, and who's worked for the people honestly through his career? That's me.
Yeah, there's two issues there. There's one saying I was handpicked. You endorsed me in 2022. So you're one of the people that supported me in 2022 for my election. The second issue is you can try to throw Leo Pellegrini under the bus. 5 Hoboken City Council members believe that there should be an investigation. The former mayor of Hoboken, Don Zimmer, has said there's credibility behind what Leo has said. You have an opportunity to say that you will engage in any meaningful investigation, that you won't compromise any investigation, that you won't obstruct any investigation, and if you want to be transparent, you can open up your phone records with Steve Fuller. All your texts, all your
Showers,
emails,
let's
and
start
all
wrapping
your
it up.
calls. All your calls, you should just disclose to the public, and we shouldn't need an open request to do so because you believe in transparency. You have the opportunity to show every resident here that you are transparent if you did those two
Time.
things.
You want to talk about machine politics? When I endorsed you, Rob, I was told by Michael Solomon that you have to take this call, and Rob is going to call you to ask for his endorsement, and you're going to be on speakerphone, and his father, the sitting senator, is going to be listening to your response. You want the truth? That's the truth. That's why I had to endorse you, because I was threatened by the Menendez machine saying that if you don't endorse him, Hoboken is going to get hurt. We need to put an end to that, and that's what this election will do. Vote for me on June 4th.
You know, I mean, sorry, but that's a lot to allege in one comment. One
Hey, the
is
truth- if the
one
truth
is so
hurts, I'm
you
sorry.
can't stand up. You say you're going to stand up to Donald Trump. You can't stand up to Michael Solomon. That's a ridiculous claim. You should, if you really thought I was not the qualified person, you should have endorsed me. You chose to endorse me. The second thing, if you want to talk about intimidation, you should look at his track record as a mayor. He had silenced city council members. He had told his directors that they cannot communicate with elected city representatives. That is true intimidation. The things that he tries to claim of me, he actually does himself. He has a
That's
track
good.
record of
That's
having an issue there.
Mayor, anything else?
No, it's just this is an election between somebody with earned track record of accomplishments. You just need to look at the accomplishments and look at his experience. 1 year in office, never served an elected office. See who's more qualified, vote for the person who's more qualified. That's all I ask.
Very good. All right, so let's move on. So Congressman, we'll let you start this time. Should there be a ceasefire in Gaza, yes or no? And if yes, what specific provisions should come with that? And again, just please be specific.
Yeah, there needs to be an end to the conflict that's going on in Gaza. There needs to be an end to the violence. But one is Hamas continues to hold hostages, including American hostages, that outside medical professionals had not had the opportunity to see, to evaluate. Hamas continues to come to the table with respect to a ceasefire and demanding things that are not about protecting civilians. So we need to have a real engagement on this issue with Israel, with Hamas, that gets us out of this crisis that we're in. Calling for a ceasefire alone will not get us there. There have been negotiations, and
30.
Hamas has walked away from those negotiations without a resolution. That's problematic.
Okay. Mayor, how do you feel on this?
I support a brokered negotiated ceasefire that includes the release of all hostages and an unfettered humanitarian aid to the people who are suffering in the Gaza Strip. You'll notice that my opponent did not say that he supports a ceasefire. He walked around that question, but I'll tell you directly, I support a negotiated ceasefire with unfettered humanitarian access and the release of hostages, full stop.
All right. Anything to add? All right, keep it moving. So this is something that actually is a federal issue that I haven't seen come up in other previous forums or debates. So U.S. Senator Edward Markey, and he's a Democrat from Massachusetts, for whatever that means to you guys, introduced the Modernizing Opioid Treatment Access Act in March that aims to expand access to methadone for an individual's unsupervised use to treat opioid use disorder. Would you support this bill in the House? Why or why not? And what else would you personally do in order to combat the opioid crisis for the 8th District? And we'll start with Mayor Bhalla.
Yeah, I have not read the bill, so I can't say whether or not I would support this actual bill. The spirit of the bill sounds like it's in good faith, so we need to take measures in Congress to end this opioid crisis that is literally killing civilians. We need to make sure that doctors are reined in so that when you get an injury, your first medication might be physical therapy, not narcotics and addictive medications. We need to make sure that that is codified so that we rein in on the pharmaceutical industry, which my opponent takes money from, and make sure that we focus on the issue, which is saving human lives. I did that during the pandemic as mayor under a crisis, saving human lives.
30.
I tried to do the same thing with this opioid crisis.
Thanks, Mayor. Congressman, what do you think?
Yeah, so appreciate the question. Would want to look at the bill, especially if it's not been introduced in the House yet, but if it has, taking a look at it. Two is I'd want to consult with health professionals, harm prevention professionals who are engaged on the day-to-day issue of opioid abuse, and see what they think of it and make an informed decision based on their feedback. But absolutely, we need to address the opioid crisis that we have here in the United States. We need to do more on the preventative front. We also need to address the issue that China's creating these precursors that are being produced in South America. We need to stomp it all out so that way opioids aren't coming into our country, but we also need to help and enable our folks to make healthier decisions and to prevent people from going towards opioids and other drugs of addiction.
All right. Looks like we're mostly on the same page on that one. So anything further?
No, sir.
Okay, so let's move on. So the $16.1 billion Gateway project is being touted as the most important transportation project in the Northeast in decades. What could you commit to today in terms of securing federal funding, as well as working with federal agencies to ensure that the lives of 8th District residents, particularly those in North Hudson, aren't disrupted more than necessary due to heavy construction? And I believe, Mayor Bhalla, it's your turn to start.
Sure.
Yeah.
This project is critical because our infrastructure is aging. Getting this project completed on time and done is a historic investment into our mass transit infrastructure, not just in New Jersey, but the region. And you're correct, John, it has to be done in a way that preserves the health and public safety of the residents of the district. As your congressman, I will make sure I do precisely that and make sure that we also oppose ill-fated projects like the New Jersey Turnpike extension. I don't support that. My opponent does.
All right, Congressman.
Well, I can tell you what I have been doing since I've taken office. That's working with our New Jersey delegation, working with the GDC, which is overseeing the Gateway program, working with the administration, working with our state partners, working with Amtrak to ensure this project moves forward as quickly as possible. This is the most critically important infrastructure project in the entire country, and we're proud of the work that we have done to deliver results today. There's a project just down the road in North Bergen that's an incredible part of this project. It's already in the ground. The other week, we were there to celebrate the 50% completion of the Portal North Bridge. We have been delivering, including on this critically important project, working with our delegation and using our role in the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee to ensure we continue to bring resources back to the district, not just on this project, but things like improving the Northeast Corridor and investing in our infrastructure, investing in our mass transit. Look at the record we've delivered on this and many more important issues to the district.
Okay, very good.
What happened last week with the Amtrak trains going down is a calamity, and it's a failure of the federal government. As your congressman, I'll go hand in hand to make sure that we hold Amtrak accountable for these types of failures that back up not only the Northeast Corridor, but also New Jersey transit trains that share the same exact tracks. We have a problem with infrastructure. In Hoboken, we've invested in infrastructure, fixing our water mains, fixing our streets and roads. I'll take that same innovative approach in the U.S. Congress.
Well, I'm just going to jump back in there. So we absolutely have an outdated infrastructure. That's why we had to invest $1.2 trillion in our national infrastructure. The important thing is that we are bringing those dollars back. $7 billion for the Gateway program, which we just talked about, $4 billion for the Northeast Corridor, working with all of our partners. Today, we were at an NJ Transit announcement for almost $80 million to make train stations here in New Jersey more accessible for people with mobility issues. We are bringing home the resources to develop and deliver that state-of-the-art 21st century infrastructure system that we all should have access to. We are delivering for the district, and we will continue to do so.
Okay, so let's broaden this conversation a little bit. So beyond just the Gateway, let's talk a little bit about just you guys' records when it comes to transportation. So obviously you both have talked heavily about pedestrian safety, about Vision Zero. So if elected in the 8th District, what could you do to help commuters that maybe don't own a car, maybe rely on a car to get to and from work, maybe people that are taking things like, the ferry, like the lift, like the path, like VIA here in Jersey City, so on and so forth. So what could you do to help get those dollars back in the district? And why should people take you at your word that you'll be able to deliver on that? Congressman.
Because we've delivered. I mean, look at our track record in a short amount of time. We're a freshman in the minority party in the House, and we are bringing resources home every single week for this district. We brought back grants to electrify school buses. We brought back grants to electrify ferries. We brought back that $11 billion to invest in the Gateway program and the Northeast Corridor. We are bringing dollars back every single day to make our transit system stronger, more resilient, more reliable, to make the experience better for everyone that relies on mass transit, and we're going to continue to do so. We're already talking about when the IIJA funding expires, creating a new program to continue the work that we've already done. I would love to see the expansion of the light rail into more communities, finally getting into Bergen County, and expansion into the west side of Hudson County, and into and expanding the Newark light rail. We are open to any solution that will improve the lives of our residents. We've delivered on this, and we'll continue to use our role in transportation and infrastructure to deliver even more for our residents. It's something we're incredibly proud of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor?
When the congressman talks about bringing money back, the big question is, what do you do with that money? I'll tell you what you do with that money. In Hoboken, we implemented a program called Vision Zero that has been a national, if not an international success. We're one of the only cities in the country that has gone 7 years without a single traffic fatality and has had serious accidents reduced by 68% in the last year. You don't just do that. You have to innovate, you have to be creative, and you have to look at details. Washington can use more people who have experience as mayors, because we have to get things done. We can't talk policy and give grand speeches. We have to solve real life problems. I've done that in Hoboken as the mayor, and I'll do that in Washington as your congressman.
Very good. Anything else on this topic, fellas? All right, sounds good. So let's move right along. So, what is your vision for Liberty State Park, and what will you do to help effectuate that vision if elected to Congress? And we can start with Mayor Bhalla here.
Yeah, I was just with Sam Peston a few minutes ago when we were at a rally to oppose the New Jersey Turnpike extension, and it's a great moment for the people when the DEP's process has finally been finally concluded, where we have a concept design that is one that's people driven from the ground up, not by commercial interests, not by people like Firestone, who actually gave money to Senator Menendez, and it's driven by the wishes of the people. We want to create a Central Park type of atmosphere that is driven by the people's interests, not the interests of the powerful and the elite.
All right. Thank you, Congressman.
Yeah, this is going to be something that you're going to largely find that we agree on. We're both supportive of the DEP plan. I talk with the commissioner regularly, with stakeholders regularly. The difference is that when I was not even an elected official, I was going to Liberty State Park for shore cleanups. When I was a candidate, not an elected official, I was speaking out about the potential acquisition of Cave and Point, was the precursor issue to what we're dealing with now with the DEP's plan. So I've been there on the Liberty State Park issue as an elected official, as a candidate, as a private citizen. I have never, ever wavered. I didn't wait till I was running for this office. I have been there with Friends of Liberty State Park. I've been part of that community that's looked to protect the park, and I will always be in their corner defending that park from the next threat that will ultimately come its way.
All right, like you said, looks like we're largely in agreement. Anything else here?
No, sir.
All right, very good. So let's talk a little national in this sense. So what I mean, this year's presidential race is expected to be a contest that is too close to call. While New Jersey is a very Democratic state overall, are you at all concerned that you are running on the same ticket with President Joe Biden, Congressman?
I'm sorry, what was that?
And are you at all concerned that you are running on the same ticket with President Joe Biden?
It's far better than being on the ticket with Donald Trump. Listen, President Biden has had a difficult set of circumstances that he's had to navigate in his first term, and I think there are a series of accomplishments. We talked largely about infrastructure today, mass transit. He signed and delivered the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. He signed into law the CHIPS Act. He signed into law the Inflation Reduction Act. I think the challenge right now is that people still feel a little bit of the uncertainty out there, right? When we talk to people, we talk a lot about affordability, and we need to continue to tell the story of how we've navigated out of these trying couple of years, coming out of the Trump presidency and all that Trump did to dismantle the federal government, dismantle agencies, dismantle so many things that were meant to work for all of our residents, and President Biden has built it back. He's built back our economy. We still have work to do. He's built back our infrastructure, and he's the right person for the job. So absolutely, I look forward to running with him in November.
All right. Mayor, give me your thoughts.
Needless to say, it's an easy choice between Trump and Biden. Of course, I'd be proud to run with President Biden, but we talk about these historic investments. What's missing in the 8th District is the connectivity. As a local mayor, just looking at for example, the Inflation Reduction Act, it's a morass to try to figure out how to get those monies to your local communities. That's where we need a congressman who works with local officials on a day-to-day basis to help them navigate federal earmarks. And that's what I would do as your congressman. I have experience at the local level, seeing appropriations come to Washington, and us not knowing how to navigate and bring those money home. That's what being a congressman is about, and that's what I will do, because I know firsthand that is a challenge for local officials across the district.
I mean, but are you suggesting that I haven't? Because I brought money back for Hoboken specifically in a multitude of different ways. Have I not?
No, I'm not suggesting you haven't.
So
I'm
I have
suggesting I would do a
done-
better job than you.
Oh, well, I find that tough to believe, because all the other mayors of the district, except for one who's not endorsed either of us, all the other mayors who rely on the federal government, people bringing dollars home, have endorsed me, including
Right.
Mayor Baraka.
Yeah.
So, because I know you're about to say something about the HCDO, Mayor Baraka, Mayor Bolich, two incredible leaders have endorsed me. Senator Booker has endorsed me. I have delivered for
Congressman,
this
let's start wrapping
district.
it up.
I have
Yeah.
delivered for this district, and the mayors, because you keep talking about yourself being a mayor and bringing mayoral experience to Washington, the people who are mayors and rely on their congressperson have endorsed me and know I get the job done.
You've got a lot of fancy endorsements. This is not about endorsements of elected officials and party bosses. This is about who the people want when they have an election, not a selection. Finally, in Hudson County, with the abolishment of the line, you have an actual chance to choose between two qualified candidates. This is what this election is about. It's about good government, opening and making the process more democratic. And what you'll see is that on the merits, I'm the most qualified to serve as your congressman. Thank you.
All right. Now, let's talk about a local issue that I think a lot of people are concerned about. So, given their well-documented financial shortcomings, what is your specific plan to help CarePoint Health's 3 hospitals to continue to operate in Bayonne, Hoboken, and Jersey City? And Mayor, we'll start with you on this one.
Sure. These are charity care, acute care facilities, Bayonne, Christ Hospital, and Hoboken University Medical Center. I'm working hand in hand with Commissioner Baston at the Department of Health, as well as Dr. Mullick and any stakeholder on the board to make sure that these hospitals survive. But there is structural change. We can't keep on kicking the can down the road. We need to find partners in the healthcare industry, whether that's RWJ
Right.
Barnabas, HUMC, or someone across the river that has the finances to make sure that we have a sustainable hospital system for these communities.
Okay. Congressman?
Yeah, critically important issue given the universe that those 3 hospitals serve through CarePoint. Something that we've worked with our local state partners to address this economic financial crisis that they are in. But we didn't just do that. We didn't just have the conversations with our stakeholders. We also co-sponsored a piece of legislation that Lori Trahan from Massachusetts, a colleague of mine, has introduced that would support these exact type of community hospitals that are struggling with funding to give them additional resources that they need so they can continue to serve the populations that they do. We can't have this absence of coverage in spaces, so we need to figure out ways to innovate, to be supportive. That's exactly what we've done in our role in Congress.
Okay. Pretty straightforward, it looks like. So we'll just keep it moving. So, obviously a lot has been said about U.S. Senator Bob Menendez, and of course we talked about it a little bit at the beginning. Now, obviously there's this corruption trial that's happening in Manhattan, and the Super PAC, America's Promise, has done a bunch of ads, and we've also seen news reports that Senator Menendez is collecting petitions to run as an independent. So, how relevant, if at all, do you think this is to the race, and why? Congressman?
Well, it's relevant because that's all Ravi wants to talk about. It's all his super PAC is spending money on. But we have our own track record, and that's the reality. Ravi may not like it, but we've been effective in our time in office, and we've delivered for the residents of the 8th Congressional District. That's what we want to talk about. He couldn't even admit that I brought money back to Hoboken, which I've done. He was supportive of our efforts before he decided to run, and now he wants to use this as an issue to drive a contrast between him and I. The reality is, my father and I are 2 separate people. I've stood on my own 2 feet and delivered for this district every single day. No one can take issue with that. Look at the results. Look at the billions of dollars we brought back. Look at the 1,600 cases we've solved. We have shown up every single day, and we have delivered. Ravi wants to use this issue to create an opportunity for himself to get out of Hoboken because he knows he has no political future there. That's the reality, and the voters of the 8th Congressional District know that that's the reality.
Mayor?
Ladies and gentlemen, This has nothing to do with Bob Menendez. This has everything to do with Rob Menendez. The fact that he will not even endorse Andy Kim because your father just started collecting petitions to run as an independent in the U.S. Senate when the Senate is in balance, reproductive rights are at stake, and so many critical issues are at stake. That shows that Rob Menendez is putting the priorities of his family and his family's interests ahead of you, the people. So this is not about Senator Menendez. This is about Rob Menendez and who he prioritizes. He prioritizes the people who put him into office, the party bosses, and he prioritizes his family over the people.
Look at our track record. Look at those 1,600 cases. Over 90% of them are immigration related. We have kept families together. We have reunited families that want to live here in the 8th Congressional District. That's who I'm representing every single day. That's who I'm fighting for every single day. When you look at our record, when you look at our track record, that everyone that's watching today will know that we are fighting for the people. But let me just say this. There are 3 people running in the Democratic primary. He was going to be, he shares a slogan with Patricia Campos Medina, and he's putting her to the side. We should be uplifting the voices of Larry Ham, of Patricia Campos Medina, and you're saying that I won't support Andy Kim? There are 3 qualified people in that race, one of whom you were going to share on a line with, and now you're discarding her like you had discarded Annette Shapiro. You have a habit of doing this to powerful Latino women. It's a problem in my opinion.
Mayor, please.
Yeah, the fact is he won't endorse Andy Kim because his father might run as an independent, and he's afraid of that. He owes loyalty to his father, who's a corrupt senator and an embarrassment to the state of New Jersey. This is not about Bob Menendez. It's about Rob Menendez's priorities. His priorities is his family and the party bosses that put him into power and want to keep him to power. His priorities are not about you, the people, and the issues that the residents of the 8th District care about.
That just couldn't be farther from the truth. Like he can't just say something that's just patently false. Every single day we're uplifting families from across this district. We were in Bayonne yesterday, the Memorial Day Parade. Multiple people coming up to me saying, thanks so much for the work that you're doing. I reached out to your office and they delivered. Every single day we are uplifting our communities, whether it's here in the district or down in Washington. You are about destruction. You are about tearing people down. I'm about uplifting people. That's the work that we've done. Your campaign has been about tearing people down instead of uplifting people. And that is something that you're going to have to own when the voters make their decision June 4th.
Sir, if you look at our record on constituent services, I don't need to speak to it. 1,600 cases you keep on talking about, that's kind of middle of the road for a congressman in New Jersey. Look at the other congressmen in the district in New Jersey and see how many cases they've solved. We've done thousands through the Office of Constituent Services. And if you talk to Hoboken residents, they will tell you that how proud they am of how we as a team, not me, but we as a team have turned the city around and made it a model community. That's what good government is about. That's what I'm running on, and that's what I want to bring to you as Congress, as your next congressman.
I want to talk about substance here, John. This is substantive, right?
Please.
But when we talk about 1,600 cases, over 90% of them are immigration related. Those are complex, hard cases that the incredible team works on every single day. They're not simple passport fixes. They are hard cases. We had a family from Afghanistan that a brother and a mother were living here. There was 2 sisters that were left in Afghanistan. The complexity of that single case was never, you're never going to be able to quantify it. But we reunited one of those sisters, and we're working on bringing the other sister here. Incredibly difficult work that the team does every single week that you can't even quantify how hard it is of those 1,600 cases. So to say what number, we do the hard work every single day for a community that relies on us to be their voice, and we have been their voice every single day that we've been in office.
Look, I'm not discounting the fact that he's solved immigration cases, which are complex. I'm just saying that if you look at things on the merits in terms of our experience, he's got 1 year and 1.5 years in elected office. I've been serving the residents of Hoboken for the better part of over a decade. If you look at our experience or qualifications, there's simply no match. I'm the better candidate.
All right. So, guys, we're going to do one more question, and then we're going to take a break. It'll just be a quick 5-minute recess, catch your breath, grab some water, whatever. So with that, so how about this? Obviously, you know, we've had some fireworks already, which is great, but I'm just curious, is there anything in your opponent's leadership style that you would like to emulate in DC if that ends up happening, if you're elected? So we'll start with the congressman.
Listen, I think that Hoboken's done some innovative things. I think a lot of those were started by Dawn Zimmer. But I would, you know, like to continue to work with our local partners to create innovative solutions for the local challenges that they have. I think that's why the 11 of the 13 mayors in the district have supported my reelection, because they know that no matter how granular local the issue is, we'll work to find a solution to it. We introduced a bill with respect to unhoused, supporting individuals who are unhoused, an ESG program, and trying to rework the funding so Hudson County could get more money, because actually Hoboken opted out of that program. So, there's no issue that's too small. And we'll continue to innovate with our local partners to make sure that we have tailored solutions for every single municipality, but can continue to work on.
All right, cool. Mayor, what do you think?
Yeah, when you look at the congressman's predecessor, the bar was pretty low, so he's definitely done better than his predecessor in terms of the basic functions of a member of Congress. But there is so much that we can do better. No town hall meetings, no connectivity between average residents and policy-driven politics in Washington. So yes, the congressman has done good things. We can't deny that. But this is about qualifications and who could do better. We don't want average or good. We want the best. And of these two candidates, I'm the most qualified and the best to serve this district.
There's a false thing said there, right? We engage with our community every time we are in district. We actually just finished our Youth Advisory Council, where we had high school students come and participate in a program where they presented different ideas and legislative solutions to the challenges that they're facing. We were actually just at a high school today talking to students. We actually engage with seniors, go there and listen to the issues that they have. We actually fixed a pothole on Candy Boulevard because of our engagement with a senior citizen at the Connor Center. We've had forums on reproductive rights with Planned Parenthood. We had one more thing. We had a community forum in Bayonne at the American Legion talking about the PACT Act and how we support our veterans. So this idea that we're not engaging couldn't be farther from the truth. I would encourage anybody. We have our Rep Menendez, our official account. Go there and just take a look. We are out in the community every single day directly engaging with people. Just because Ravi says it doesn't make it true.
Anything?
Yes, sir.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back shortly. Hello again, folks. John Heides from Hudson County View. I'm still here at Hudson Media Group, and we're still doing the 8th District Congressional debate between U.S. Rep. Rob Menendez and Hoboken Mayor Ravi Bhalla. So we're just going to dive right back into it. So, gentlemen, as you're well aware, Governor Phil Murphy has a bill on his desk regarding changes to the Open Public Records Act. Of course, most of us know it as Oprah. So do you think you should veto or sign this bill? Why or why not? And if elected to Congress, what would you do to help improve the Freedom of Information Act, better known as FOIA? And we can start with the congressman.
Sure. So listen, Oprah is the most critically important thing that we have in our state to hold public officials accountable, to get a sense of transparency into local, county, state government. The bill's been contentious and a lot of people have concerns with it, as they should. As I've said previously, I think we need to start by meeting the obligations that currently exist under Oprah. So if this bill is worse than what currently exists, then it's going to be a problem for the city of Hoboken to comply with it, because the city of Hoboken has had issue after issue complying with Oprah. Most recently, it had to pay $50,000 in attorney fees because they tried to block access to city documents. So, whatever people think about the bill, it's a state issue. I'm more focused on what I can do at the federal level. But I think people should have a lot of questions about Ravi's handling of Oprah requests in the city of Hoboken. Most recently, the $50,000 that the city of Hoboken now has to pay, the taxpayers have to pay because of a lack of compliance with Oprah. And at the federal level, we should always continue to encourage transparency, work on strengthening FOIA and other pieces of bills and regulations that would strengthen transparency into the federal government.
Okay, Mayor.
Once again, Rob Menendez failed to answer the question. The question was, would you encourage Governor Murphy to veto Oprah? My answer is yes. Governor Murphy vetoed the bill that just passed the legislature to weaken protections of transparency in Oprah. And I asked the congressman to directly answer the question, not evade it. Number two, we get thousands and thousands of Oprah requests on a daily basis. I know that as a local mayor, and of them, very few get litigated. We've had about 1,500 or more Oprah requests. We comply with it 100%. One outlier case where a judge ruled we weren't in compliance, we immediately resolved that case. So you could talk about outliers, or you could talk about transparency. As a congressman, I would strengthen FOIA, make sure that the regular people have more access to government records, because that's what good government is about. And whether it's Oprah or FOIA, on Oprah, I would ask Governor Murphy to simply veto this bill.
Well, just a quick thing. I mean, Ravi says he has 100% compliance, but then said there's this case where they didn't comply with Oprah. So that's not 100% compliance, and shows that there's an issue with complying with Oprah. There's multiple instances of that being the case. This is just the latest in a litany of challenges.
I'm not sure he's talking about multiple. Out of 1,500 cases we see every year and comply with, on one case, a judge ruled that our attorneys were incorrect in telling us to withhold documents. So that was the judicial process. We complied, and that matter is resolved. That doesn't mean that we don't comply every single day with Oprah. We do that on a daily basis, and I support strengthening Oprah protections, not weakening them like the legislature is trying to do. Governor Murphy needs to veto this bill, veto it for the sake of transparency.
But also, if we're going to talk about Oprah, Ravi's business administrator weaponized Oprah and tried to use it to silence city council members who were asking about rebuild by design. So we should have a broad conversation about Oprah, but also we need to look at the track record and the fact that a BA from Hoboken, Oprah sitting council members' phone records, to me, is an attempt to use what should be a transparency tool to silence people that disagree with you and your administration.
So the congressman still hasn't answered the question. Would you ask Governor Murphy to veto the Oprah bill? I would ask him to veto this Oprah bill because it lowers transparency, it makes it harder to access records for average people, and it's bad government. So as leaders, we need to take a stand on issues that are important. He talks about potholes. Yeah, I'll fix potholes as a congressman too, but what about Oprah, which affects ordinary citizens who are residents in the 8th Congressional District? I'll fight for you, whether it's at the local level, the state level, or the federal level.
So I'll quickly answer. So happy to call the governor and ask him to veto this. It's a state issue. He'll make the decision that he wants to make. You didn't answer the issues that you have with Oprah and your business administrator. That's true. Your business administrator Oprah phone records from city council members to try to get them to stop communicating with Dawn Zimmer. Dawn Zimmer proactively released her phone messages and her texts. You have not been as transparent with respect to the quid pro quo arrangement that you've been accused of in releasing your texts and your calls with Steve Fulp. So you can have a conversation about Oprah, but what you can do right now is commit to the residents of the 8th Congressional District that you will release your phone records, your emails, your communications with Steve Fulp regarding his wife's property in Hoboken. I think you should do
1,000%. Of course, if there is an Oprah request,
wait, I'm saying you shouldn't require Oprah. If you believe in transparency, like Dawn Zimmer did, your predecessor, a true leader for Hoboken did, she proactively released her texts, her calls with city council members. You should proactively release your texts and calls with Steve Fulp regarding the dispensary that his wife owns, and
absolutely. If there is a legal issue to comply with, I will comply with the law. That is what good government is about. I'm not going to go ahead and just whatever you ask me to do, just go willy-nilly and do it. I mean, you still haven't answered the question. You said you would ask Governor Murphy to veto this bill. I'm saying I am urging the governor to veto this Oprah request. If my BA makes an Oprah request that you think is inappropriate, it'll be denied. It'll be denied, and that's okay, because that's what the process is about. He just likes to talk about attacking me, attacking my administration, but when it comes to answering the exact question, he evades it. I'm answering the question.
Well, if urging is a distinction that you made, I urge you to proactively release all of your texts, calls, and emails.
Thank you.
And I think you should do so.
I'll take that under advisement, sir.
Oh, I hope you do. And I hope that the residents of the 8th Congressional District, before they have to make a decision on June 4th, have those records, because you believe in transparency. And you have said the buck stops with you, but apparently it does, and you just keep passing it along. Thanks, John.
All right,
Thank
guys,
you.
are we good? All right.
Yep.
So potentially another fun topic, I think. So let's talk a little bit about Rebuild by Design. Obviously, you guys have talked a lot during this campaign about climate change, about flood resiliency. This $230 million project, I mean, it's probably more now, but it was $230 when it was announced, what was that, 12 years ago probably? And this is something that's going to be a flood prevention project in conjunction with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And this is not just for Hoboken, but also Jersey City and Weehawken, which are also, of course, in the 8th District. So, you know, at this point, obviously, it's not done. Still a lot of hurdles to clear, but this is an important project for the district, I believe. So what would you guys do to help make sure that that gets over the goal line? And also, what would you talk about to voters about what you've done to advance this project to date? We'll start with Mayor Bhalla.
So I've been advocating for this project. It was awarded by Sean Donovan under the Obama administration in 2015. I'd been advocating as a councilman and now as a mayor through a record of decision by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and we are now in the construction phase. So we are actually constructing this historic flood resiliency project that is an international example of innovative solutions to climate change. Hoboken, once again, has set the standard, the gold bar for climate action. So as mayor, we are in the final phases of this project. We're going to see it through and make sure that this is a project that keeps Hoboken and the surrounding areas, Weehawken and Jersey City, vibrant and resilient for years to come.
Thanks, Mayor. Congressman?
Well, I appreciate Dawn Zimmer's leadership on this issue. She's a visionary, and it was her administration that put in the application to receive this incredible funding. I'm concerned that it's stalled, specifically on the southern portion of the Rebuild by Design project, which is the border between Hoboken and Jersey City. I feel like there's delay tactics that are currently being utilized by the mayor of Jersey City, who again has various interactions with Mayor Bhalla, and those interactions concern me because it's there. Weehawken and Hoboken have been able to work together. Jersey City and Hoboken have not. I think if progress isn't made soon, the state needs to consider every available option, including eminent domain, to take the easement that it needs to move the project forward. Every day that you delay this project, it becomes more expensive. And if I were the mayor of Hoboken, since he likes to talk about the job that I have, I would be there every single day pushing for this project, challenging Jersey City to provide the easement that is critically needed to complete the project.
Thank you. Mayor?
Well, as they say, there he goes again with these wild conspiracy theories about what's happening with Jersey City and Hoboken. You want to know the truth? We're working together cooperatively we're collaborating, and through this process, whether it's the northern easements or the southern easements, we receive challenges. We were sued by residents at a condo association for the easements in North Hoboken. We got through those bumps in the road, and now we're in the construction phase, and that'll move on. Now we have a challenge we're trying to resolve in the southern portion. We're going to resolve that in conjunction with not just Jersey City, but the Department of Environmental Protection, and make sure that this project, this critical historic project, achieves its end, and achieves its end successfully for the protection of the people of Hoboken, Weehawken, and Jersey City.
Okay, good. All right, so let's just expand on this topic a little bit. So obviously, again, this is for 3 cities and the district, or well, 1 township and 2 cities to be specific. But when we're talking about climate change, we're talking about flood resiliency, and we're talking about green infrastructure, what have you brought, and what would you like to bring to the entire 8th district if elected? And we'll start with the congressman on this one.
Yeah, so continue the work that we've done, which is electrifying vehicles, both ferries and buses. We've brought back environmental justice grants for community organizations in the Ironbound section of Newark and in Elizabeth, working with groups like Groundworks to continue to develop a grassroots up approach to taking on the climate challenge. Continue to work with our partners. The Army Corps of Engineers has a HAT study where they're thinking about flood resiliency throughout the Hudson River, both in New York and New Jersey. We've worked hand in hand with them, and we're continue to work with all partners to continue to deliver resources to make our district more resilient to these unforeseen adverse weather challenges that we have. We've done some incredible work, and there's more work to do, and I look forward to doing it for the residents of the 8th Congressional District.
Okay.
Hoboken is a national model for flood resiliency. We just broke ground today on the 2nd phase of the Southwest Resiliency Park, which, when completed, will withhold up to 300,000 gallons of water in a heavy weather storm. This is not the first resiliency park. We have the first phases of the Southwest Resiliency Park, the 7th and Jackson Resiliency Park, and the Northwest Resiliency Park that can withhold up to 2 million gallons of water, both above ground through green infrastructure, rain gardens, bioswales, and below ground infrastructure. These are innovative solutions that people from all over the world come to my office at City Hall to learn about. So we're going to keep on working on that track record of success, building on that track record. I know that as a mayor because I've done it as a mayor, and I'll advocate it in Congress.
I would just say these are federally funded programs. So the way that Hoboken can be a leader is because of the work that federal office holders, myself included, have done. And my predecessor, who Ravi insulted just a short while ago, have done to bring federal resources back, whether it's Rebuild by Design, whether it's funding for these resiliency parks. They're possible because of federal funding. So if you're having success in Hoboken, it means we've been successful at the federal level.
Well, Sean Donovan, under the Obama administration, did earmark $230 million for Hoboken's Rebuild by Design program, and we've used those federal funds, but it's innovation that is a national model that we've created here in Hoboken. So that's what we would project across the district. It's worked in Hoboken. People from all over the country and the world come to Hoboken to see what we've done, and we would keep on doing that in the U.S. Congress. Hoboken is a national model in this area.
And it is a national model thanks to Dawn Zimmer, who I'm happy to work with on a variety of different issues so we can continue to push her agenda of creating this leader, creating Hoboken as a leader in these issues, since some of these projects have stalled recently.
This is not about credit. Mayor Zimmer did a fantastic job in terms of leading the way on Rebuild by Design, in introducing resiliency parks, in that innovation. I was a council member working side by side as her biggest advocate, and now as mayor, I'm continuing that good work for the residents of Hoboken. I'll do that as a member of Congress as well.
Okay, so let's go to a federal issue, but just a time check, guys. We've got roughly 10 minutes left, so we'll probably do 2 more questions and closing statement, all right? So having said that, what do you think about President Joe Biden's administration's efforts on the southern border? Do you think that he's done a good job or a bad job? Why or why not? And what would you do on this specific issue when it comes to immigration if elected? So we'll start with, I believe we're on the mayor.
The federal administration has not done enough to help local mayors solve the immigration crisis. We have migrants coming to our cities, and we need the resources to make sure that they have the resources to have a pathway to citizenship, a framework. That takes federal investment, that takes federal dollars. As your congressman, I would advocate on this issue in a humanitarian sense. These are people, they're fleeing political persecution, they're fleeing suffering, they're fleeing economic insecurity, food insecurity. They're just like us. They just want a future for their families. We have to make sure that the federal government finds a pathway to citizenship for migrants and make sure that local mayors and cities that deal with these migrant crises have the resources they need to make sure that this matter is handled in a humanitarian way.
Okay. Rob?
Yeah, so challenging dynamic at our southern border. I visited twice in my first year. I sit on the Committee of Homeland Security, so we deal with this issue regularly. And it's a problem. You know, we have global migration, but we have hemispheric migration. People who are leaving their country of origins and coming to our southern border to start their American story here. Obviously, we need to revamp our broken immigration system. But with respect to the southern border, we need to find a humane way to treat migrants who are arriving at our southern border. I think the president has done some things right in utilizing things like TPS and parole to have a more orderly immigration process, working within a broken system. But what we can't do is allow the Republicans to control the narrative. Because the Republicans and President Trump, their rhetoric is extremely dangerous and it's harmful to immigrant communities like here in the 8th Congressional District. And every time that they have come for immigrants, every time that they have tried to demonize immigrants, we've stood up to them. We've said that's not who we are here in the 8th Congressional District. There are countries better when we are a nation of immigrants and when we are a welcoming nation. There's work to do on the legislative front, but what we can't do is succumb to the Republican narrative of what's happening at the border and what immigrants who are arriving here are seeking to do upon their arrival. I've never been silent on it. I never will be silent on it. I will continue to speak out and speak up for all of our immigrant communities.
Okay. Anything further? All right. So on that point, so you guys remember that it was just a few months ago, it was definitely this year, where there was a governor of Texas, that's Greg Abbott, he had immigrants being rerouted to New York City, and a lot of them were stopping in Secaucus and also Edison, and there were other locations, I believe Trenton as well. But the point is, there was at least one location that was in or around the 8th District, and there was some talk of that happening, or at least potentially happening in Jersey City and Hoboken. So, you know, in the event that this continues to escalate, like what could you do on a federal level to try to make sure that this is handled in a humane and judicious way? So Congressman?
Yeah, so we've engaged the administration. We do need more local support. That's a reality. I mean, we've created a dynamic. Republicans have created a dynamic, whether it's Governor DeSantis or Governor Abbott, where they're taking people against their will, moving them to Democratic strongholds, Democratic cities, and to create a strain there. We visited the hotel where a lot of these migrants are staying at in New York City with members of the Hispanic delegation, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, Congressman Espaillat, to get a firsthand experience of how those facilities are being used, what the process is, where the challenges are. And we took those experiences back with us, and when we engaged with the administration, and when we had to make our appropriations requests, we asked for greater resources. Ultimately, it's at the executive level that they're going to determine how they support local municipalities, but we have been an advocate to giving our local communities more resources. We will continue to do so as we find a way through this really challenging time, but continue to treat people humanely. It's a pretty simple concept. It's challenging with Republicans doing what they're doing and politicizing immigrants, but we're working on constructive solutions and will continue to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yeah, we would do more investment at the federal level in making sure that local mayors can work with not just the federal government, but with our governor. I believe it was Secaucus, where we saw some migrants, as well as actually Jersey City and Hoboken. And the first thing we did in Hoboken was work with Governor Murphy, who was working with the federal government to make sure that in the event that more migrants were bused by Governor Abbott to New Jersey, that we had the resources within New Jersey to make sure that those people had housing, had what they needed in terms of resources to sustain themselves. So it's that kind of partnership at the local, state, and federal level that I've experienced on this very issue, that what I would do as a member of Congress, urge the administration to coordinate at the state level, and the local level with governors and mayors across the country.
If I could just add one thing, no
Sure.
fireworks, don't worry, John. But it's,
Never worry.
as we think about these challenges, we can't accept that because we have a broken immigration system, that we need to put immigrants in harm's way. And so one of the things that we've worked on with Bonnie Watson Coleman is closing the last privately run detention center in Elizabeth. We visited there, we talked to folks being held there, and we've worked with our delegation, members of our delegation, to call for the closure of the Elizabeth Detention Center. It's the last remaining one in the state of New Jersey. It is problematic. It rips people from our communities who are here on an undocumented basis and puts them in a position where they're separated from their families and potentially facing removal. It's not reflective of who we are. There are challenges, and we do need to collaborate with the local county and state partners to come to better solutions, but we can't allow a broken system to dictate how we treat people who are here in our communities. We refuse to do so, and we've spoken up and out against it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so perhaps a similar mindset, you could say. Now, there's a few comments in the chat. A few people have asked that if elected, would you support a voter ID for someone to go to the ballot box, and why or why not? So I think we're on Congressman Menendez.
A voter ID in the sense of like something that's given to anyone who's eligible to vote, so it's a unified system.
Correct.
I mean, we need to make sure that we have more inclusive voting systems. We need to expand access to voting. It's why we're a co-sponsor of every major voting rights bill. We need to reduce barriers because we see the lack of engagement partly due to we make our elections difficult to participate in. Jersey has made progress with VBMs, early voting, but at the federal level, we need to continue to make inroads to making voting more accessible, more inclusive. We would support every option available to do so, and we have already supported things like the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Everything that's been brought up this Congress, we've been supportive of it. We'll continue to be supportive of it. It's a critically important issue to make sure we get more, more involvement, more inclusivity in our democracy.
Okay.
May I answer?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, respectfully, the congressman has not answered the question that was asked. The question that was asked was, would you support voter ID when you vote at the polls? The answer is no. This is a Republican trope, and it's a harmful and threatening way to suppress minorities' right to vote. When you register to vote, you have to go through those processes. The Republicans across the country are trying to suppress people's right to vote by showing proof of citizenship, proof of identification. And my answer is absolutely not. The system that we have, there is no evidence that illegal immigrants or people who are not eligible to vote are voting. This is pure fiction by the Republicans, and the system we have right now, as it relates to voter ID, there's nothing wrong with the system we have right now. I wouldn't change it. You should not have to provide your identification when you go to the voting booth. You have to provide what you provide now, and I will not tolerate any attempts by Republicans to suppress the rights of to vote, especially minorities.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, it looks like we made it, knock on wood. But we're just going to do closing statements now. So obviously, at the beginning, we had Congressman Menendez go first. So Mayor Bhalla, would you prefer to go first or last on the close?
I'm happy to go first.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. So I want to thank John and thank you, Congressman. I want to also say this is not easy. When me and the Congressman debate issues, it's difficult. So I commend the Congressman for engaging the public. I think that this is what democracy is about. We can agree to disagree on issues, but at the end of the day, we're from the same community. We're both Democrats, and we're going to move forward together. As in this election, as I've said before, you have the right to participate and you have the right to vote based upon your experience and your knowledge of the qualifications of both candidates. Hoboken has a track record of success, of innovation, and I would bring that track record to Congress to protect reproductive rights, to make sure that climate action is advanced, and to make sure that we have the economic stability, affordable housing, a living wage, and the things that working families in this district need. The time for change is now. The time to turn the page on the politics of the past is now. The time for new leadership is now. Vote for Ravi Bhalla on June 4th. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mayor. Rob, you could bring us home.
Well, John, thank you for gathering us this evening and for your team's willingness to have us here. I want to thank the mayor for engaging us this evening. We've done forums together, we've done interviews together, we've done debates now together, and it's healthy and it's good to have the exchange of ideas and a conversation for the voters to see. What I would just submit to the voters of the 8th Congressional District is that we raised our hand 2 years ago. We saw that there was a universe of challenges that we had to take on as a country, and we decided that we couldn't wait any longer. I have 2 young kids, and I think about them every single day as I'm taking on these challenges. I think about your children and grandchildren and wanting a better future for them. So we've talked a lot about politics and differences, but at the end of the day, this is about serving the people of the district. And that's what I've sought to do every single day since being sworn in, is being of service to the place I grew up, being of service to the place that I'm raising my family, being of service to the place I love, to the people who I love. And I believe when you look at our track record, when you look at what we've done here in the district and what we've done in Washington, we've taken on the big fights, we've taken on the small fights. There's been nothing too big or too small that we haven't taken on, whether it's an attack on immigrants, an attack on reproductive rights, ending the scourge of gun violence in our communities, or whatever else it is that our residents are facing. We've taken on those challenges, and I submit to you that we've delivered results, real results, for all residents of the 8th Congressional District. We've developed a great foundation in our first term. It would be an honor to build upon that foundation for 2 more years. I thank you for your consideration, I thank you for your time, and I appreciate you all.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. Congressman Ravi Menendez, Hoboken Mayor Ravi Bhalla, I appreciate you guys. Obviously, it's hard to get a debate going in Hudson County, and especially for a congressional, so I really appreciate you guys and your teams making the time, so thank you. Thank you to Hudson Media Group, Pat, Garrett, you guys do great every time I get to partner with you, so it's a privilege and it's a pleasure, thank you. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Without you, this wouldn't really be worth a whole heck of a lot. So thanks for watching, thanks for sharing, and we'll see you next time. Have a great night.